on YouTube. Don't feel me now. All right, there we go. All right, we're back, everyone. Brother Yahusha is gonna lead us off here with Ayub chapter 7, and then Brother Solomon will be finishing us up at chapter 8. So whenever you're ready, Brother Yahusha.
Chapter 7. And is not the life of a person upon the earth a test? Interesting. Hold on, give me a second. Or like an attendant who is afraid of his master and happens upon a shadow, or like a hired servant waiting for his pay. So I also endure patiently months of emptiness, and nights of pain are appointed to me. Whenever I fall asleep, I say, when will it be day? But when I rise up again, when will it be evening? And I am full of pains from evening until morning, and my body is soaked in the decay of worms. And I am consumed, scraping away clods of earth from the pus, but my life is a minor subject and perishes in empty hope. Remember, then, that my life is a breath, and my eye will no longer return to see too. The eye of the one seeing me shall not look about for me. Your eyes are on me, and I am no more. As a cloud is cleared away from the sky, certainly, a person who descends into Sheol shall no longer rise up, neither shall he return to his own house, nor shall his place know him any more. Now then, no longer will I restrain my mouth, I shall speak. Being in distress, I shall open the bitterness of my soul, which is being held in. Am I a sea or a serpent that you appoint a watch over me? If I should say, my bed will strengthen me, and I will raise the word with myself on my own bed. You alarm me with dreams, and with visions you terrify me. You will separate my life from my ruach and my bones from death. For I shall not live for eternity, so that I must be patient. Be gone from me, for my life is empty. For what is a person that you magnify him, or that you give a thought to him? Or will you execute a visit upon him until morning, and judge him until the time of rest? How long will you not leave me, nor release me, until possibly I should swallow my spit in pain? If I should sin, what will I be able to do? O you who establishes the mind of men, on what account have you set me as an accuser of you, only to be a burden to you? On what account did you not make my iniquity forgotten, and a purification of my sin? But now I shall depart to the earth, and in my rising up I am no more. That's interesting. Verse 21, and on what count did you not make my iniquity forgotten, and a purification of my sin? Like, I wonder if he's starting to doubt himself there. Because like beforehand, he seems to like have no knowledge of anywhere where he's fallen short. But like right here, he's saying, on what account did you not make my iniquity forgotten, and the purification of my sin? So I wonder if he's actually doubting, like whether or not he's fallen short somewhere. This other place though is also interesting, where it says, for I shall not live for eternity, so that I must be patient. What we were talking about, I think it was either last week or the week before, probably the week before, where it seems like he doesn't recognize eternity up until like farther on in the book.
Yeah, I'm noticing the way it's worded in verse 21 in the Masoretic is very weird. It's saying, "You will seek me diligently and not find me." First of all, that makes no sense. It actually contradicts Job, Ayub's own words, saying, "There's nowhere you can't find me." So I don't know if this is a mistranslation from the New Heart English Bible, or if that's actually in the Masoretic text. If it is, that makes no sense, this sentence here. That in the context of Yahuwah seeking him diligently, and he will not be, he will not exist.
Unless it's changing the context of who is speaking in that part, like where And right before that is talking about Ayub, but then where it says you will seek me diligently, but I shall not be. I wonder if it's meaning like
Yeah.
Ayub shall seek Yahuwah diligently, but shall not be found.
Yeah, it'd be weird. It's weird altogether because it's not in the LXX. It's like it's only in the Masoretic.
I can actually elaborate upon that a little bit. You're going into the 8th verse. My bad, I said 8th verse. I meant to say 8th chapter.
Yeah, sure.
Was everyone ready?
Yeah.
For chapter 8 already?
Wait. I had a question. I don't want to leave it
Oh,
yet.
I'm sorry, sis. My bad. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
go ahead.
Ronnie. Okay, Ronnie. We're reading out of chapter 7, and he read out of the Septuagint. I don't know what translation you read out of, but it sure was different than mine. I had to really research to follow along, because it is so different. And of course, I got the King James. Hello. But like you were saying, that for you, Doug, at your point, it has to be a mistranslation there because there's nowhere where we can hide where Yahuwah does not see us.
That's right.
We might feel like that, our own personal being, because we're going through so much, because there's a lot of brothers and sisters that are going through, cancer and things that pain. And I mean, right now, everybody's going through the fire. They're getting cleansed. They're and like I was telling a sister that she's going through cancer really bad. And I just said, we have to find out the cause and reason sometimes. And maybe you laying down, being laid up, that's the only way you get to look up and say, wow, Father, show me what's eating me alive. Show me if it's caused by anger, sadness, madness, unrepentativeness, whatever it is, this canker sword that's eating me alive. What's the purpose of it? Why am I going through this? And Abba, I think that he allows certain things to happen and they become a witness without us even realizing it. Because I can only speak for myself personally, because what I went through. And I was in, total shock. I mean, he took me from a perfect human being. A perfect human being, I would say, because I say perfect because I could walk, talk, get up, roll over out of bed, brush my teeth, eat, swallow, the whole 9 yards. And then when I went through what I went through, everything was stripped, other than my mind. And so, he showed me in that time, and this is probably what Job was going through, is like, what else? What else can happen? Because I was there. What else can go wrong? I honestly, with all my heart, didn't think I was going to make it out of the hospital. But Abba, he knows when. He knows how much we can tolerate. We got to remember that he will never give us nothing that we cannot handle. And that's something that we got to hold fast to and learn the lesson and go through it like Job. I mean, sorry to say his whole family had to go. But there was a reason why. They got tainted, I believe, and they started partying and they started enjoying the world. And Job loved Yahuwah, and his family could care less if he did or didn't. Yeah. And he saw the heartbreak of Job. And said, okay, now I got to get his attention because, I going through this trial, he only got blessed. He got Baruch beyond measure, and we can't see it at the time that we're in the fire. But that fire is called refining fire. And I believe that any of us, we're going through any trial at any time. Remember, ask him what the fire is. Ask him what is burning out so that you can repent, turn around, and make the best out of it. Because Job is a very good lesson for us. A very, very good lesson for us to really look into ourselves. Look in that mirror. Look into that mirror. And remember that the words that we speak from our tongue is powerful. Yeah. It is so powerful that it brings life or death. So if something's not going on and you're cursing, getting mad, and whatever have you, or thinking bad, you better retract that thinking. You better retract it, and you better start praying. And start praying the blessings upon your loved ones. Abba Yahuwah, and believe that Abba's doing his best to bring them through a trial that only he can. Okay? All right. I just wanted to share that with you because, just looking at it was, even like our dreams. I've had dreams, and, I'm sure you all have had dreams. I had that dream of the serpent, and the serpent that came through the floor, and it went over the neck of my doggie on my mom's lap and then went around, but I had to be still. All I could hear is say, be still, be quiet, be still, be quiet. And Satan, and check this out, I was taught this last night, that Satan was a snake, right? He was a serpent in the garden. He became a serpent. But at the end time, he's not a serpent, he's a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
So he has grown, you guys. We're not fighting a little tiny garden snake. We are fighting
wickedness.
Yes, we are fighting something that's going to be so powerful that you have more power in Yahuwah to conquer that snake. But you better know your weaponry. You better be ready. You better be guarded up. You better have your breastplate on. You better have the word in you, because this is a dragon that's coming. This is something that, guys, wake up. Time to walk serious. Time to really get this down, because man, what's coming, it's gonna baffle us all.
Yeah.
We got something to face. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
If Job faced it, we're gonna face it. If Yahushua faced death on that stake, we're gonna face death.
Yeah.
If every disciple died the way that they did, don't think, you guys, that we might be skipping through this at all. There might be some stuff, but you guys better wake up and realize that death is but a second, and he's on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, and I just wanted to piggyback off what you said, sis. I know. The whole thing in the garden is still kind of like a traditional understanding we have that he was a serpent or possessed a serpent, but the text doesn't say that. It actually says he was a shining one. He was a diviner, seducer. Scripture never says that the devil possesses a snake or becomes a snake.
And I would like to elaborate upon that too after you're done, brother.
Yeah, I was just
that's true.
In my opinion, I believe, according to the Septuagint and other ancient texts that are apocryphal together, the Satan is a seraphim type of angel. That's why in later traditions they rendered it as serpent, because in ancient cultures they would portray the seraphim like a serpent or a dragon. A lot of the times the Hebrew word seraph, when you look at other ancient cultures, they would call them serpents. One example of this in Enoch, there's a verse that when it talks about the different classes of messengers, it paraphrases seraph as serpents. So it's not talking about like a literal snake. It's talking about a seraph type of messenger, the malachim, which, it's all the word seraph also means burning ones or fiery ones. And,
but he gets his legs cut off. He has to slither.
That's why a lot of people think that is talking about a snake. It's not. It's an idiom. It's not like literally he got his legs cut off, because when you go to the book of Job, he's still able to walk up and down in the earth. So a lot of people don't understand what's called idiomatic language. When who is talking about you're going to lose your feet and you're going to crawl on your belly. First of all, a good point by most scholars even say today, how is this physical if it's talking about a literal snake? That's what a snake does. Crawls on its belly. No snakes have feet. So what we have to understand is idiomatic Hebrew idioms and idiomatic language. I believe it's talking about his authority being taken from him. And you can kind of see this similar story in a lot of the other pantheons. You see like this Thor character when he gets kicked out of Asgard and he's sent to the earth. You know, his power is taken from him. It's not that literally Satan's legs are cut off under him. I think people misunderstand what's going on there. Yahuwah is taking away his authority.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking away his status. He's taking away, because after that moment, no longer is he a righteous messenger. He's a fallen messenger now that comes up and has to go before Yahuwah. He has to say, oh, listen, Yahuwah, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. Yahuwah doesn't do that with any of his other Malachim. It's only Satan. Why? Because Satan now is fallen. He's now no longer part of that hierarchy in heaven. He's now an outsider. He has to yeah, go ahead, sis.
That's why I like hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
That's a great understanding. I like that.
Yeah, it's
I get it now.
Idiom.
I get it now.
It's an idiomatic language. It's like the same thing how Yahusha in a vision to Paul said, why are you kicking against the prods? He's not literally kicking against the prods. He is talking about, why are you fighting against the truth? What are you doing? You're going against the grain. What are you doing? You know. So I think what we have to start realizing in Scripture, there's Eastern idioms, there are Eastern culture idioms and Hebrew idioms in Scripture. So sometimes when we look at that, and the reason we think it's a snake, sis, to be honest, is our Christian tradition.
Yeah.
Because every painting, what do? They put a garden snake on a tree. Where is that in the Scripture, though? Where is that in the original language? The original language says the Nakash. Does not say serpent. It says Nakash. Nakash is a shining one. It is a messenger. A messenger talked to them. So Satan, even at that moment, was still in his original form when talking to Adam and Kua. That's probably why they were so deceived. They're like, oh, well, this is one of the seraphim. Why would they lie to us? What's going on? Why would they lie to us? So other researchers like Michael Heiser and others have came to the same conclusion I have, that really the reason he's called the dragon or the serpent as a allegory in Scripture is because there's some type of form that the seraphim would take that even ancient cultures, when drawing them on hieroglyphics, they would look like these serpentine angels that had similar appearances to dragons or serpents, but they were angels. They were the fiery ones, the burning ones. And in the Ethiopian language, seraph is serpent in the Ethiopian language, hence why the Book of Enoch translates seraphim as serpents. So there's a lot of proof to this, what I'm saying here. There's a lot of second and third witnesses, even extra-canonical witnesses to this. You can also see this in Numbers 21:6, where the Hebrew word seraph and nakash are combined to in that verse that's mistranslated as fiery serpents. But it's actually supposed to say, and I'll show you here from a translation that actually gets it correct, which is the Hebraic Roots Bible here. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Numbers 21:6, where Yahuwah's he's actually punishing Israel. And he says, and Yahuwah sent the seraphim in the form of serpents among the people. So it's that they took some type of form. They took some type of appearance. It's not that they were literally snakes or garden snakes. So I think we get the wrong idea of what Satan was in the garden. And there's multiple apocryphal, even first century texts that show that our idea of him being a garden snake is definitely not true. Go ahead, Brother Yahusha. I know you've been waiting for a while. Go ahead.
I've never actually looked at that idiom like that, but like it's interesting how Yahuwah works, because before you even said it, that was what was going through my mind, like that it represented authority and not literally the removal of the legs. But to add to that, where it says you will crawl on your belly, eating the dust of the earth, I have I already had that understanding. Like when you're eating the dust of the earth, he is attacking us. He is, because we are made from the dust of the earth, and so him eating the dust of the earth, he's attacking us. He is getting his nourishment from deceiving us, tricking us, bringing us down. But also that when you add that to, he will crawl on his belly. The fact that we've been given dominion over him, we've been given authority over him to where we can say, leave in Yahushua's name, go. Like his authority is like literally below those that he is trying to eat, those that he is trying to destroy. Like because we have the authority of Yahushua in us, like he is below us, he is beneath us. So yeah, praise you, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And another confusion too of the other false doctrine that's taught because of the Masoretes, of course, is that he was a cherub, right? We've been taught he's a covering cherub. If you look at the Septuagint, it says he was with the cherub. So the cherub being spoken of originally in the original text, in the original Hebrew scriptures, was referring to Michael. Michael was the cherub who threw him out of the stones of fire. And just to prove what I'm saying here, you can find this in Ezekiel 28 of the Septuagint. And just show you guys what I'm talking about here. Hopefully my shared screen's working here. Son of man, take up a lamentation for the principality of Tyre. Say to him, thus says Yahuwah Alua, you are a seal of resemblance and a crown of beauty. You were in the delight of the paradise of Yahuwah. You have bound upon you. So he hasn't been bound. He has taken upon himself to bound these stones upon himself, like stealing, robbing. What does that sound like? Who does that sound like? You have bound upon you every precious stone, the sardius, the topaz, the emerald, the carbuncle, the sapphire, the jasper, and the silver, and gold, and the gore, and the gate, and immense chrysolite, beryl, onyx. You have filled your treasuries and your stores in you with gold. So again, stealing gold. It's kind of funny when you think about all these musicians, they wear gold all the time. It's kind of funny. From the day that you were created, you were with the cherub. So he's not the cherub. He was with the cherub from the day he was created. Now, it's kind of interesting if that's Michael being talked about, which I do think it is, according to Revelations 12 and other places. The cherub that would have removed him from the stones of fire would have been Michael. I set you on the set-apart mountain of Yahuwah. You were in the midst of the stones of fire. Interesting. Wonder if the stones of fire are actually allegoric for the seraphim. Just a thought. So it could be actually saying that literally he was removed from the seraphim that were on Yahuwah's side because of his pride. You were faultless in your days from the day that you were created until lawlessness was found in you. Of the abundance of your merchandise, you have filled your storehouses with lawlessness. And then it says here later on in the verse, it says here, and have sinned, therefore you have been cast out or cast down, wounded from the mountain of Yahuwah. And the cherub has brought you out of the midst of the stones of fire. So Michael, the arch cherub, throwing him out of the stones of fire. So most of the time, people have interpreted the stones of fire as a heavenly realm. I'm kind of wondering if it's actually referring to the congregation of the seraphim, because the seraphim are also known as the fiery ones or the burning ones. So I kind of wonder about that, but not a big deal. If it is the heavenly realm, that works out too, because he's being thrown out. He eventually gets cast down to the earth when he loses to Michael, Revelations 12. So that's where the confusion lies with people thinking he's the cherub. He's not a cherub. The only time you get that is Ezekiel 28 in the Masoretic version. So any version pre-Masoretic would say he's with the cherub. He's not the cherub himself. So, and almost every other place I've seen in the scriptures, there's hints of him being a seraphim. And just the fact that Nakash and Seraph are combined together in Numbers 21:6, to me, that's a clue. So anyway, there's, like I said, there's other apocryphal literature that even described that in the garden, he was like an angel that had like 6 wings or 12 wings, that had a dragon-like appearance. And, you know, in a lot of ancient cultures, that's how they would describe the seraphim. That's kind of how they would describe them. Either they would be called the fiery ones, the burning ones, or they would have a serpentine type of appearance. So anyway, so I just want to explain why I had to realize I had to unlearn that whole garden snake thing. That is not really in the text. That's more of a traditional rendering.
Thanks a lot, Doug.
You're welcome, sis.
Yeah. That's a lot of plucking to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's good, because you know what? We have been deceived more than we should. Long enough, put it like that. Long enough. Time to wake up.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know. I think I hopefully I didn't include everything that Solomon was going to expound upon, but I don't know if you wanted to say anything else.
He's going to read, right?
Yeah, but he said I thought he wanted to mention something else or piggyback before he started reading. I was just making sure.
Yeah, sure. I was just listening to everything that you had to say and the others had to say. But yeah, I mean, just about everything that you had touched on, man, it was right on point. Really, some of the stuff I haven't heard before though, but literally, I'm just literally being more open to, you know, listening. Not, of course, not quickly accepting everything though, because I know, you know, the scripture tells us, you know, just make sure that you actually look into all this stuff as well. You know, show yourself approved in the sight of the Most High Yahuwah. You know, Yahuwah gonna always lead you, you know, to the things that He knows that you need to know. And then not only that, protect you from the things that He knows that it's not necessary for you to know. But yeah, I mean, that serpent thing, yes, that's most certainly correct. When we look up the word serpent and we align what the context is actually talking about, when you look up the word serpent, and the main dictionary that I trust is the Oxford Languages. The Oxford Languages Dictionary gives you a good amount of definitions to literally, like, I have to say, like 98% of the words that we have used in our English language throughout history. But when you look up the word serpent, the second definition gives you the real meaning of why he's called a serpent. And that second definition reads as follows. It says a sly or treacherous person, especially one who exploits a position of trust in order to portray it.
Wow.
Sounds familiar?
Oh.
Sounds familiar what Doug was just talking about? Like it says a sly or treacherous person, or in other words, in this topic of talk, a treacherous malakain, a sly or treacherous malakain, a fallen malakain, especially one who exploits a position of trust in order to betray it. That's what Hashatan did. That's why he's called a serpent, because he betrayed Yahuwah's trust. Yahuwah trusted him. Yahuwah entrusted him with a lot of stuff, believe it or not, because it tells us in and that's why he's the most talked about for Malakain throughout scripture. Like he's even talked more about than Gabriel and Michael, Uriel, Suriel, whoever else who didn't rebel, the among the Malakain. But in Isaiah 14, it actually tells us, you know, it's Isaiah 14 verses 12 to verses 12. Verses 12 to 17. It tells us that he was beautifully created. That's what it says. It says that he was the son of the morning. You know,
yes,
that he was beautifully created at first. At first, that's the key word, at first, until he chose to disobey some easy commands, some simple instructions that Yahuwah gave to the Malakaim and that he gave to us as his creation of human beings. They chose to literally disobey his set apart instructions. And the they I'm talking about is Hashatan and those other demons that he deceived, you know, those other Malakaim that he deceived to follow him. deceived into following him, that is. But it tells us that he was the most beautifully created at first. And then it goes into telling us into verse 16 and 17. It basically goes into telling us that, hey, eventually we are all going to stare upon Hashatan. And it says those who see you stare at you and ponder over you, saying, is this the man? Of course, we know that Hashatan is not, literally a man, but we know that he's like just a just a fallen malachim, a seraphim, an appearance with all the wings and the arms and the legs and stuff and all that. But literally, it says that, is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook rains, who made the world as a wilderness and destroyed its cities, who would not open the house of his prisoners? Yes, those people who are going to say that eventually about Hashatan, like, is this who's been deceiving us? This worthlessness standing in front of us, man. Like, we were deceived by this. Like that's basically what they're saying in the context, or the other perspective of what's going to happen going forward. But yeah, like, Ashatan doesn't necessarily have any power over us. It's just that we give him power by keep sinning willfully. Because the more we sin willfully, the more we reject Yahuwah's name and reject his instructions, we're giving Hashatan power over us. And that just goes back to what Joshua had said, or Brother Yahusha had said, that like, hey, look, as it says that he shall eat the dust of the ground. We are that dust, because we were created, from the dust of the ground. And he basically gets his power by deceiving us, by getting us pulled into false doctrines, his falsehood, which he already knows that is all a means to an end. Hashatan already knows he's done for. He's absolutely done for. I'm pretty sure Yahuwah gave him a chance before he got cast out. But when he got cast out, he's done for. He's absolutely done for. And believe it or not, the demons that follow him, they still fear Yahuwah. The demons still fear Yahuwah that follow him, the fallen Malachim. Because remember when Yahusha came across the man that had all the demons within him, and he was cutting on himself and stuff like that. And then it goes into how the demons started speaking from within that man to Yahusha, like, holy crap, man, please don't kill us. Please. I mean, like, you do anything to us, man, just send us into those pigs, man, and let us drown in the water or something, man. But the demons that follow Hashatan still fear Yahuwah. They still know who Yahuwah sincerely and ultimately is in existence. But the problem we find in there is Hashatan. He's the main one that actually thinks he's going to fight Yahuwah. He actually thinks he's going to dethrone Yahuwah. And that's the problem. That's the major problem, matter of fact. Hashatan doesn't realize how much of an ant he is compared to Yahuwah being a building. Like you see that little idiom or parable I just used right there of Yahuwah being a building and Hashatan being an ant. And Hashatan literally thinks he's gonna dethrone Yahuwah, and it's just ridiculous. But yeah, like, going into as well at the ending of that verse, as I was finna ready to start reading Ayub chapter 8, like the ending verse of chapter 7, that was something I wanted to just speak on real quickly, and then I'm gonna start reading Ayub chapter 8, verse 21, and Ayub chapter 7, like at the ending of that verse, and to all the brothers and sisters that's here and to whoever else is listening, at the ending of that verse, that's actually not a mistranslation. And let me elaborate upon that real fast. Now, we all know that Ayub, he was highly persecuted. And to tell us that within scripture, that he had some amazing endurance, the stuff he was going through. And his name, the name Ayub in Hebrew, literally means persecuted one. So at the end of this verse right here, it says, like, for now I lie down in the dust, and you shall seek me, but I am not. But yeah, and real fast, in this translation I read, it's called the BYNV, and this translation correctly transliterates the Hebrew over into English to get the Tanakh as correct as possible, and it uses the original Greek manuscripts to correctly transliterate and translate the Brit Hadashah, the renewed covenant, or commonly people call it the New Testament. But anyway, at the end of that verse, we have to really truly understand what Ayub is really talking about right there. He's not directly saying like trying to intentionally say that Yahuwah is not going to find him. What he's doing is that he's being discouraged. Basically, he's discouraged with the stuff he's going through. Therefore, he feels that Yahuwah is not there. Therefore, he feels that Yahuwah is not going to be able to find him because he's very discouraged in the persecution that he's going through. And then we go back to what Hashatan told Yahuwah in chapter 1, and we can actually align that with that. Dealing with the persecution that Ayub was going through, and he started low key cursing Yahuwah a little bit, not literally, not directly, a little bit. Like with making it seem as if Yahuwah wasn't going to be able to find him in his time of temptation or in his time of trials. But Yahuwah was like literally, Yahuwah is patient with all of us, and he knows we get frustrated. He knows we get frustrated with everything we go through, dealing with certain situations and dealing with certain things we may encounter. But the key thing we can take away from that ending verse is him being frustrated, because he's like, come on, man, I had all this stuff. How come it's being taken from me now? How come I'm going through severity right now with all this stuff? Yahuwah, like literally, for now I lie down in the dust, and you shall seek me, but I am not found. That's him being discouraged, and he's actually pretty frustrated. And we'll get the understanding of that when I read Ayub chapter 8 in a couple more seconds. But Hashatan in Ayub chapter 1 basically tells Yahuwah this about Ayub. He says, what it says this as follows. And Yahuwah said to Shatan, have you considered my servant Ayub, that there is none like him on the earth, a perfect and straight man, who fears Elohim and turns aside from evil? And then Hashatan says this with his little sneaky butt. And Shatan answered Yahuwah and said, is Ayub fearing Elohim for nothing? Are you hear the arrogance in Hashatan's voice towards Yahuwah? Like he was basically telling Yahuwah, like, hey, come on, Yahuwah, man. He ain't fearing you for nothing, man. Like, come on, bro. but continuing though, Hashatan says, have you not made a hedge around him and around his household and around all that he has on every side? You have Baruch, the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand, please, and strike all that Ayub has, and watch if he will not curse you to your face. You see how Hashatan was literally basically telling you, like, hey, the moment you take that stuff from me, watch what he's gonna do. And that's basically almost what Ayub was doing here in verse 21. That was almost what he was doing. He didn't literally curse Yahuwah ever, because we all know his wife told him to do that. Or if I'm not mistaken, that was his wife. I'm not mistaken. Like, she told him, hey man, just curse Yahuwah and die, man. Like what? What are you talking about, man? Like hold on, you're supposed to be my wife. You're supposed to be supporting me. but anyway, but yeah, like that's what that verse is talking about. It's not a mistranslation. It's just that we have to pay attention to how the scriptures portray and explain to us the stuff that Ayub was going through. Because like when we read past chapter 1, we can clearly see that Ayub was wealthy according to Yahuwah's desire. That is, he gave him the right amount of silver, or in our day, or in our modern day, money. Excuse me. He gave him the right amount of silver, whatever it is he needed to be able to sustain himself and maintain himself. He gave him everything he needed to be able to stay maintained, and to always know, hey, Yahuwah is the main priority. Yahuwah is the main one that's giving this stuff to you. Even though the scripture tells us though that, hey, look, Yahuwah doesn't give to you the same way the world gives. That's implying that, hey, Yahuwah gives to you and provides the things to you that he knows that you are going to be able to sustain yourself off of and stay maintained off of. But I hope that cleared up any confusion that anyone had about verse 21 of Ayub chapter 7. It's just that he was getting frustrated, he thought to
Yeah.
himself like like okay, so now Yahuwah, like, come on, Yahuwah, like, it's almost as if you done handed me over to straight up despair or straight up desolateness, like, and then he goes into like saying it in his way of saying like, for now I lie down in the dust, and you shall seek me, but I am not. He's basically saying like, hey, if I keep going through this, I'm going to end up being nothing. That's basically what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, the way you explained it made a lot of sense. Yeah. So I could see it in that light making sense. Yeah. Brother Yahusha, did you have anything before Solomon closes us out with chapter 8?
A few things. I'm definitely gonna look into the way that I believe that's like Lou White's translation. I'm gonna look into how it says, but the way you explained it definitely made sense, and I see that all throughout Ayub. Like he doesn't seem to he knows the Torah, but he doesn't seem to have the best understanding of it. There's certain places where he seems to not understand certain things. Um, so the fact that he doesn't seem to understand certain things of the Torah and certain things that of the way Yahuwah works, along with him, especially being frustrated on certain things, that would make sense. I'm gonna definitely look more into that. I would also like to say, just for anyone that, because you mentioned certain things that you are unsure of that Doug mentioned, which I won't definitely feel free to reach out to me later on. I, I won't get too much into that, but I will say at least this much, because I know that a lot of things um, that Doug touches on is not a lot of things that a lot of people have heard. Um, which the fact that you mentioned the Greek at least shows me that you have like at least somewhat of understanding, and I don't think I've ever talked to you on that. Um, and anyone else that might be listening, but I would just like to share, if you've never studied like the Greek Septuagint, the dating of it, versus what we have as the Masoretic Tanakh, definitely something to study into. Um, where our current Hebrew Tanakh, where it comes from, uh, who created it, why they created it, versus um, just something to study into, something to look into, where the Greek Septuagint came from. Um, personally, I believe it to be a lot more inspired than our current Hebrew Tanakh. Not that I don't read the Hebrew Tanakh.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable, big time.
I will say that I had never even heard of it before I met Doug, and then I started looking into it, and I started looking into how it agrees with it says out of the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established, and I started looking into the Samaritan Pentateuch. I started looking into the Dead Sea Scrolls. I started looking into the Aramaic Targums. And so far as what I see, you have like four different manuscripts, or four different families of manuscripts. You have this Greek version of the Tanakh. You have the Samaritan version of the Tanakh. You have the DSS, and then you have the Aramaic, all agreeing with one another, and then also agreeing with the when it comes to prophecy, agreeing with the Brit Hadasha.
Yeah,
You have this Masoretic Tanakh, that I believe wasn't formed up until like about the 10th century, about 1000 AD. That is like the odd man out. There are some places where it seems to translate it better than the Greek, and I will side with it over the Greek. But the majority of times, like I side with these other manuscripts, because they seem to side with the group. They seem to side with the Brit. They seem to side. There's like multiple witnesses for these, and one of them being like, okay, you have this Hebrew Tanakh saying that calling Satan the cherub that was thrown out of heaven, but you have these other four manuscripts saying that he was the or at least the Greek that agrees with these other manuscripts saying that he was thrown out by the cherub. And not at the end of the day, like that's not really salvational, like whether he was a seraph or whether he was a cherubim.
Right,
But
right.
just to throw in like, okay, there are definitely salvational issues like between the Greek and the Hebrew, or at least the Masoretic Hebrew, at least as far as what I believe, because like what I see, like you have certain certain instances where prophecy is mentioned in the Brit Hadasha. And then when you go back and you look at those prophecies mentioned in there and you look at them in the Hebrew Masoretic, like they don't match up, versus when you go back and you look in the Greek Septuagint or you look in the Samaritan Pentateuch, they're like word for word, So someone somewhere is playing games, you know. So that's just to throw out some information, definitely go back and as Yahuwah leads, something to look into. Yeah.
Yeah, most certainly, man. Definitely appreciate that. One thing I do know that is that the original Greek manuscripts, they were taken directly from the original Hebrew. I mean, that's why they're so in tune to helping us to truly understand, like, hey, like this is what the text is actually saying. Because we all know that the people who wrote the scriptures, they were Hebrew Yehudim, or in the actual language, they were Abrayath Yehudim. So they literally know what they were doing, because Yahuwah was leading those prophets, leading those people to write those books and to write all that prophecy down, and just keep it recorded. I mean, for a person to not accept the scriptures in general, for a person to not accept some books or a book itself, well, the original Hebrew context calls it the just a scroll or a sefer, because the Tanakh was originally just one whole scroll. It was just one full scroll. Until they start separating the books and start trying to top them up and start trying to put all this extra stuff in there that wasn't originally in there. Like I'm talking about like the verses and stuff that got distorted, etc. But that's another topic, dealing with like the verses and stuff getting distorted. But yeah, like that's the the Hebrew Israelites, when they came out of the Babylonian captivity, they not only, well, some of the elders though, like some of the elders still understood the ancient Hebrew. It's just that the majority of them didn't anymore. So when they came out of the Babylonian captivity, and the book of Daniel actually tells us this. It tells us in the book of Daniel that they were learning the language or learning the script of their captives. So when they came out of the Babylonian captivity, they picked up 3 full languages, y'all. They picked up the Aramaic Express script, they picked up the Greek, and they picked up the Latin. So those 3 languages they picked up. And somebody may ask, well, how do you know that? I know that because it's written in, if I'm not mistaken, it's in Matthew, where when they were finna grade to stake Yahusha, remember y'all? When they were finna grade to stake Yahusha, and they had dang it, what was that? They had it written in this way, on like this little board above Yahusha's head, written in 3 scripts. It was written in the Hebrew, and it was written in Greek and Latin or something like that. Well, hold on. Let me go to that real fast, because I know it's in Matthew.
Yeah, the writing on the wall is what you were referring to before, which is true. Daniel was like the only captive that knew their language anymore. By the time you get to Belshazzar of that reign, they did not know the language anymore because Yahuwah wrote with the finger on the wall, and they're like, "Oh, what does this mean?"
Right. They were like, "What?
They were like,
what is
language
this?
is that? We don't speak that." Yeah, so yeah, it's true. They had the language of that land was mainly either Syriac or Aramaic. I forget which one, but the Assyrian language was spoken a lot in Babylon. So Syriac would have been spoken very heavily in that land. Aramaic possibly. But yeah, a lot of them, they came back to the land not knowing it. And that's supposedly, this is a whole nother topic, not trying to go on a whole nother rabbit trail, but that's why some believe that there needed to be a necessity for the Targums. That's, some scholars say that was one of the reasons that they started having Maturgeman orally translate when someone was reading from the scroll when they came back from Babylon. They have to have a Maturgeman or interpreter to interpret it in Aramaic, which eventually that became known as the Targum.
Okay, I found it. But yeah, go ahead, continue, brother.
No, I was just going to say that, just that, going to your point, that they, even after they came back from Babylon, they needed something like the Targums to be able to understand the scriptures in a more common Aramaic language.
Right. But yeah, and it's in Luke chapter 23, verse 38, where it tells us that, like, and there was also an inscription written over him, or Yahusha, written over in Yahusha in letters of Greek and Roman, or that is Latin, and Hebrew. And it says, "This is the sovereign of the Yehudim." Of course, we know that they were doing that just to mock him, though, when they said that this is the sovereign of the Yehudim. But you know, that just shows right there that, hey, those Hebrews that were there, and of course it was some Romans there probably with them too, most certainly. That shows us right there, like, hey, look, they know how to read Roman and they know how to read Greek. They did, and most certainly the Aramaic. But the majority of them, like Doug was just touching on, the majority of them did not know how to read the ancient Hebrew, or some people just say Paleo Hebrew, and Paleo just means ancient. That's all that's all that means. But the majority of them did not, and I mean did not know how to read that language anymore. So therefore, as Joshua was touching on and Doug was touching on, dealing with the Masoretic text, they started to go with the blocky square script. That is the Aramaic square script. And they started to make the Masoretic text, started making them the Nakud diacritical markings. And that's for another topic too. The little dot tittle marks that cause people to misunderstand and mispronounce a lot of Hebrew words and names because of those diacritical markings that they put in the Masoretic text. But yeah, I mean, like literally, like we're touching on some great things, man.
Yeah, hopefully this is not going to confuse the viewers and listeners. I might have a lot of trolling comments after this study's done. Like, what are you talking about? So, just for the viewers and listeners, we did do a study about the cherub thing topic a way back. So I did. I sent it to the chat. Anyone that wants to test it and look into it. I'm also going to leave it linked to this video, so those that want to look into that can go into that. And like I said, I don't expect anyone to accept blindly what I'm saying here. So I actually encourage people to have their own opinions and own minds. So anyway, but I want to let you, Brother Solomon, read. We'll try to hold on the questions until after you're done reading chapter 8 here.
Oh yeah, most certainly, because we definitely don't want to keep digressing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm finna ready to start reading here, Ayub chapter 8. Alrighty. Ayub chapter 8. And Bildad, the Shuhite, answered and said, How long are you going to speak like this? Since the words of your mouth are a strong wind, does all twist right ruling? Or does the Almighty twist what is right? If your sons have sinned against him and he delivers them into the hand of their transgression, if you diligently seek all and plead with the Almighty, if you were clear and straight, then indeed he would awake for you and shall Baruch your righteous dwelling place. Though your beginning was small, yet your latter end would greatly increase. Indeed, please ask the former generation and prepare for the research of their fathers or their grandfathers. For we are but of yesterday and know not, because our yomim, or that's Hebrew for days, on Eretz, and that's Hebrew for earth, are as a shadow. Do they not teach you, speak to you, and bring forth words from their heart? Does Preparus grow without a marsh, a reed thrive without water? While it is great, my bad, while it is yet green, not cut down, it dries out before any plant. So are the paths of all who forget all, and the expectancy of a defiled one does perish, whose refuge is cut off, and whose trust is a spider's web. A lot of idioms used here. But anyway, he leans on his house, but it does not stand. He holds it fast, but it does not last. He is moist before the sun, and his branches spread out in his garden. His roots wrap around a heap and look for a place in the stones. If he is destroyed from his place, then it shall deny him. I have not seen you. See, this is the joy of his way, and out of the dust others grow. See, all, or in other words, Yahuwah, does not cast away the perfect, neither hold the hand of evildoers, while he fills your mouth with laughter and your lips with rejoicing. Those hating you put on shame, and the tent of the wrong is no more. Unquote. But it was a lot of idioms being used there, and I want to touch on just two things real fast. First thing is that you see how what I had explained earlier about Ayub chapter 7 verse 21 on how Bildad the Shukite basically was basically gave the explanation that I was going to give. You see how Bildad was letting him know, like, hey, yo, how long are you gonna talk like this, man? Like, how long are you gonna put yourself down? Like, how long are you gonna stay frustrated like this, acting like a child, man? Like, you know how to do what's right, man. You know the ways of Yahuwah. So walk in them, man. Yahuwah ain't gonna leave you, man. Like basically that's what Bildad was trying to encourage him with, but going into the rest of the chapters, and I'm pretty sure on some other live streams we'll get to those. But like going into the rest of the chapters, Ayub was basically going back and forth with the men that were around him that were they were trying to encourage him, trying to anyway. Which we don't know if any of them actually know Yahuwah, because I mean, they really don't technically say his name. These guys is trying to encourage him, but we do know that they are in a sense referring to Yahuwah for real, because they know that Ayub knows Yahuwah, so they have to know him too. But they were literally just trying to encourage him and lift him up, but he was just he just kept putting himself back down again. And he kept on trying to refute the evidence that Yahuwah is there. But that's why he said at the end of at the end of chapter 7, verse 21, that's why he said, for now I lie down in the dust, and you shall seek me, but I am not. He's basically saying like, hey, all this stuff I'm going through, I'm gonna end up being nothing. And then meanwhile, you're gonna be looking for me, Yahuwah. I ain't gonna be no more at all. Literally, no more. And then Bildad goes into telling him in chapter 8, like, hey, does Yahuwah twist right ruling, bro? Or does the Almighty twist what is right? Like he's basically like asking him a question, like, bro, come on, you know this stuff already. So why are you acting like this? Lift your head up, man. Know who you are serving. Know that Yahuwah is the big man up above, man. Hey, for real. He is literally having his eye on you, man. He's not allowing you to go through this stuff for no reason. The scriptures tells us that, hey, Yahuwah allows all things to work together for our good. That includes whether we're going through a trial, a hardship, or whether we're struggling with our flesh. You know, in the book of James, it touches on that a little bit. Like, hey, when we have endured trial and we choose to learn from that trial, that's how we're gonna grow more into being more perfected and obeying Yahuwah's commands, getting more better at obeying His 10 words of love and discipline. Or that's just Hebrew, everybody. For people who don't understand the Hebrew terminology, when I say 10 words, that's the 10 commands. But in Hebrew terminology, it's the 10 words. Or in Hebrew, it's pronounced, the 10 commands in Hebrew are pronounced Ashereth Ha Debarim. Ashereth in Hebrew means 10, the Ha means the, and the Debarim means words. And the reason why they're called the 10 words is because they are the words of Yahuwah. That's why they call it the 10 words. Or that's why Yahuwah called them the 10 words. But, as we get better at, learning from our trials, we get better at obeying the whole entire Torah, doing the things that Yahuwah has told us to do, staying away from eating, drinking blood, or whatever it is, that deals with us following our fleshly ways or whatever. Like we get better when we're willing to get better, if that makes any sense. Like, that's the only time we can see progression take place is when we are willing to get our lives on track ourselves. Like, when we're willing to recognize, like, man, like, I did all this stuff. And I was really doing it towards Yahuwah. I mean, that's really what Bildad was trying to help Ayub to understand. Like, hey, you saying all this stuff, man, but you need to pay attention to what you're saying, Ayub. Like, for real. Like, does Yahuwah twist right ruling? Like, or does the Almighty twist what is right? Basically, what Bildad was telling him in verse 3 of chapter 8. Like, hey, like, don't get it twisted, man. Like, Yahuwah here's what you're saying. So you need to take a step back. That's basically what Bildad was telling. Like, hey, take a step back. What you saying, man? Don't let your frustration get to you like that, man. When you start talking crazy.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of tuned wisdom here. There's only a couple little things I wanted to share. I thought it was interesting that couple of times this is where the Mazarites felt the need to take out the father's name here and put L there, which I have a pet peeve about, for multiple reasons. L is not a name; it's a title. It means mighty one, deity. To lower Yahuwah's name to L, I think would break one of the 10 sayings that Brother Solomon was talking about. Says don't bring his name to nothing. Calling Yahuwah mighty one is essentially doing that.
Hey,
So
I'd like to speak on that as well after you're done, brother, dealing with that L of deity stuff. I can give somebody a source to go and read that for themselves on Google, and too as well. Google is a great source, everybody, but of course there's a lot of stuff on there you can't believe, but there is a large amount of stuff on there you can believe, because Yahuwah is the one that leads you to the stuff that he wants you to know. Remember, I said that earlier. Yahuwah leads you to the things that he knows you needs to know, and he makes sure he protects you from the things that you don't need to know. But yeah, continue, Doug.
yeah, I was gonna say multiple times they do this in this chapter for whatever weird reason. Verse 20 they do it. Verse 13 they do it. The reason I know this is because in the Greek of the Septuagint, The Greek word for mighty one's not there. It's actually kurios, which if you look at Romans in your Brit Hadashah, when it talks about all who call on the name of Yahuwah shall be saved, right? Same word, kurios. So in verse 20, it's actually saying in the Septuagint, for Yahuwah will by no means reject the harmless man. Same thing in verse 13 here in the Septuagint. It has Yahuwah instead of El or All, which again, I have a pet peeve about because I know where All has been repurposed, especially by heathen nations, for a Canaanite deity. It's become an actual name for Saturn or Kronos in the Canaanite pantheon. Sorry about that. I had a mental block there. But yeah, so that's all I wanted to touch on there. I think it's very weird that they're doing this, especially multiple times in one chapter, making it so obvious that they're doing it. I wonder if when they came back from Babylon, they started this whole tradition like, well, he's the only mighty one, so let's just call him Mighty One. Because I do see that in Encyclopedia Britannica, that according to Encyclopedia Britannica, the Hebrew people, after the captivity of Babylon, did not want to use the Father's name anymore. They felt it was unnecessary. And when they came back from Babylon, they would just call him Alua or Elohim. And that's all they felt the need to do. Hence why the book of Job, the modern book of Job, has Alua or Eloah dozens of times instead of Yahuwah's name. So it seems like that was a rabbinical tradition that they started inheriting, kind of like the Adonai stuff. They felt they could just call him Adonai, which, means master, but Adonai also goes back to Adonis, Baal. So again, that fulfills what Yirmiyahu said in Yirmiyahu 23:27. These false prophets who cause my people, or the false shepherds who cause my people to forget my law and my name in the worship of Baal. So this really where it goes down to is the worship of Baal. And they kept trying to mix Baal worship with worshiping Yahuwah. They wanted it both ways. They wanted to worship Yahuwah and worship Baal. And the most obvious is when you get to the Samaritan community around time of Messiah. He even says to her, he's like, you don't know who you worship. He's basically saying you're trying to worship the Father and worship Baal at the same time. You don't know who you worship. And, he says it right to the Samaritan woman.
It was called mixed worship.
Yeah. So go ahead, Brother Yahusha. I see you had your hand up. Go ahead.
A couple things. What you just said right now, I wanted to touch on something that you said, but also something that you said, Solomon. I haven't been able to find the source of where I've seen it, but I know I've seen it, and it's regarding like rabbinical tradition, and the reason why I know I've seen it, and you can either believe me or not believe me. Like that's up to you. I don't care either way. But I know I've seen it, and I have not been able to find it. Again, I should have saved it, but I didn't. But just as far as rabbinical tradition, as far as what we have, because you'll notice, like, regardless of whether you're reading Greek or Hebrew, you will see many times where instead of it saying Yahuwah in the name, it'll refer, or even Kyrios, or there will be times where it's specifically referring to Yahuwah's name rather than referring to what he is. He is the Elohim or the Eloah, and it'll use instead of calling him by his name, it'll refer, like it'll say, and Eloah said this, rather than like when I see Eloah or Elohim, like the only thing that I could possibly think of, like, okay, it should say Yahuwah, your Elohim. If it's gonna use a sentence in the context of a name, then it should have a name there rather than a being. I don't know if that makes sense. If I'm using a sentence that says, and let's say, and John said, right? It should have a name there because it's talking about the person. But if I have a sentence that says John is a person, right? It should have John and then person, being what that person is. But all throughout scripture, regardless of what manuscript that we have many times where it is referring to Yahuwah as a person, but instead of saying Kyrios or Yahuwah, it has what he is, like Alua or Elohim. And there's a rabbinical tradition that where they will not, as far as writing, they won't use the name more than once in a single sentence. At least from what I've seen in my studies, and I don't know where I saw that. Like I said, it's but I know I saw it. So like a lot of the times where we see Elohim being used as a name, is because they don't believe in using it more than once in a sentence. So you'll see like it use Yahuwah as a name, or Kyrios pointing to Yahuwah as a name, and then in the same sentence use like refer to him as Alua, but use it as a name rather than than what he is. I don't know if that makes sense, if y'all follow what I'm saying. But there's a lot of times where it uses Alua as a name rather than just as his title of what he is. And that's, as far as from what I've studied, it's based off of rabbinical tradition. Now, what you were saying, as far as I believe 8:2, how long will you speak these things? A wind of words is your mouth. It makes a lot of sense. I see Ayub being frustrated. I see him. He knows the Torah, but he doesn't necessarily fully understand it. And he's rebuked later on for it. But I also see that the Bildad and his friends, they also knew the Torah, because there's several places in the book of Ayub where they're like quoting Torah, but they don't fully understand it. And I can definitely see where he is, like Bildad is saying, like, why do you think Yahuwah has left you? I could definitely see what you're saying. That you have two different parties that know the Torah, they're speaking the Torah, but they don't have a complete, full understanding of it. There's definitely things that they don't understand. And I can definitely see Ayub being, he's definitely, while he's not sinning, he's still complaining. Like he's still bringing forth a complaint before Yahuwah because of his lack of understanding of the Torah. And you see that he's rebuked later on, like once you get to like the chapter 30 and on, like he's rebuked by Yahuwah. So even though he didn't sin, he's still rebuked because he's still laying forth a complaint because he doesn't fully understand what he's speaking of. And like where it says a wind of words is your mouth, though, is what really stuck out to me. Like we know that a ruach or ruach is also referred to as wind. So where it says a wind of words is your mouth, very possible that he is being influenced by a spirit to lay forth a complaint. Just what I saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most certainly.
So I sent some links already. I'm going to link it to this video when it gets uploaded, but confirming what Brother Solomon was bringing up before with L. You can find it on Wikipedia. It's very
I
easily.
definitely wanted to speak on that a little bit. Yep.
Yeah. So feel free, bro, to speak on that. I'm just going to try to find some links for people right now.
Yeah. That's actually awesome. We definitely don't want to talk about the majority of this stuff and then don't, lead people to these sources that we know about because, Yahuwah told us, he told us in Yakazakal. I had to remember the chapter real fast. He told us in Yakazakal, or that's his name in Hebrew, but the incorrect transliteration they made his name into Ezekiel. But we read in that book and in chapter, go on forgetting it again. It's chapter 3 verse, chapter 3 verse 27. All of us can take edification from that as set apart ones and people that Yahuwah is definitely using, and the people that's first coming into the faith. We have to understand this right here, what Yahuwah told Yakazakal. He told him, hey, those who hear, let them hear. Those who refuse, let them refuse, for they are a rebellious house. He was basically telling Yakazakal, like, hey man, I'm going to send you to people who are going to listen, but the people who don't listen, hey, look, just tell them my truth and move on, man. Don't keep trying to stand there and keep going back and forth with them, because what you're doing is that you're going to uproot their freedom to make the decision on if they're going to choose to worship me or not. That's why he said, hey, if they refuse, then they are a rebellious house. But you have to leave that choice up to them. But yes, most certainly, with us giving the sources and stuff for the people to be able to go to them. But real fast, I just wanted to touch on this El stuff real fast because a lot of people still say Elua, Elohim, and El and stuff like that. This source right here drives this point all the way home, and I mean all the way home. There's this website called Britannica.com, and this website has a lot of creditable sources that you can cite from and read from. Not everything on there is correct. That's one thing I have to say. Not everything on there is correct. But this El stuff, where it talks about how this El deity was like a Semitic deity dealing with the areas of the Semites and the Ugaritic and Syria areas. The Ugaritic and Syria areas where they basically worship this El deity they did, and El was described as the titular head of the pantheon husband of Asherah, and a lot of people don't know that this is Elohim, this deity, that's an actual name of a false mighty one. And this El mighty one was basically described in the ancient Ugaritic areas in Syria and in some of the Semitic areas as well. And we all know some Semitics are or were, some Hebrew Israelites, some of them. But this is literally telling us that, hey, look, this El deity was described as a titular head or a titular head of the pantheon husband of Asherah and father of all the other gods except for Baal. But anyway, it says that his most common epithet was the bull, and we all know what happened when the children of Yasharal did that at the bottom of the mountain when they built that little ox bull, that little golden calf or whatever, and they built that golden calf or whatever, and they wanted to try and say, oh, this is who brought us out the land of mystery and did this golden calf right here, man. Like what? What? This donkey you just built or whatever it was out of gold. You said this brought you out the land of mystery, ain't right? But anyway, they like this El deity was portrayed as that, as the bull. Like like the little Molech worship where they were sacrificing their children to this Molech mighty one and sacrificing them in fire, like literally burning their children in fire. And that's what this El deity was associated with. And that's why we have to come out of Babylon every single day. Because ladies and gentlemen, literally, like when you start knowing Yahuwah, it's a full-time job. But it's a job you have to be content with. And when I say content, you have to be calm and be ready to cut yourself off from things that you have been deceived with from your childhood on up to your adulthood. You have to be ready to come away from all of that stuff. And I mean everything, because literally just about everything we have been taught growing up is just straight from Hashatan, man, and his systems he has used to propagate all of this stuff, and it's just ridiculous. But this L
Brother,
deity. Oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah, how about, isn't it kind of crazy that New York has a bull in their Foursquare, where the Twin Towers were? Now, they have you seen that bull there?
That right there I haven't seen, but I do believe you though.
Okay, when the Twin Towers went down, they put a monument out there, and I'm not sure exactly where it's at in the city, but I believe it's somewhere where they rebuild or cleaned up the area, and they have a bull, a big bull. You should Google it, and if people go over there, they take pictures in front of it and stuff like that. But we hear that New York's going to get hit hard with them putting that bull there. I think it's just straight out rebelliousness, and they don't care. They're very proudful. The elites that are in charge of that. I mean, it's like Abba is very patient, I think, with all of us anyways. But he's very patient because you think you're going to make fun of him, but you're going to come to naught. Better wake up. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
Certainly.
yeah. And I mean, so this idea of calling Yahuwah as a name, El or Elohim, it's really no better than calling him Adonai, is what Brother Solomon's bringing up here. It's really no better. It's the same thing, because ultimately it goes back to the same person. I just made a little joke in the chat. Well, the reason he's not the father of Baal is because he is Baal. When you understand all the pantheons and all that, they're just recycled pantheons from Babylon. They're not. Yeah. It's not different. It's the same entities. A lot of the gods, once you understand, the divine council, like I brought up today, once you understand that Yahuwah, when the Tower of Babel happened, he set up a principality for each of the 70 nations. So when you understand that, you'll understand why there's all these pantheons. Because eventually those 70 Malachim at some point, according to Psalms 82, rebelled. And so now you have these principalities of nations that wanted to be worshipped. They weren't just happy to rule over the Gentiles. No, they wanted the same thing Satan wanted. They wanted to be worshipped. So you got 70 fallen angels that are recycled on every pantheon as different gods. Like the Greek pantheon, you got Poseidon, Zeus, Hades, Apollo. All these so-called gods are real beings that have held. Some of them are not fallen angels. Some of them are the Titans, the giants. Some of the they worship. So it's when you understand a divine council concept, which I find this funny. I was scrolling down the screen that Brother Solomon's reading from. These stupid Gnostics think that she is the creator of the 70 gods. So they replace Yahuwah. They put her where Yahuwah is supposed to be, and she is the mother of the 70 angels.
Hey, Doug, you want to know something funny real fast? That Asherah, or that she, this female deity right here, this Asherah, is basically them giving reverence to Hashatan as their creator, basically.
Yeah,
basically, they're basically trying to say that Hashatan is the one that formed everything, basically.
Yeah, so they're replacing Yahuwah with Satan is what they're doing. And the 70 mighty ones, like I said before, if you know anything about the Hebrew worldview of Deuteronomy 32:8, the original view, this goes back to the Tower of Babel event and the 70 principalities for 70 countries. So this is where they spin the truth and pervert it. So they make Mother Earth, Gaia, whatever you want to call her, now the creator instead of Yahuwah, which by association, like Solomon said, Satan gets worshipped through Semiramis. So that's why this whole feminine divine nonsense is so big in the world, because it's a way for Satan to get worshipped through her.
And so I wanted to speak on one more thing to elaborate with that Adonai stuff after I come back from the bathroom, because I had to use it real fast, and y'all can definitely keep on talking.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Doug, you know what's sad is that most of your teachers out there use Adonai, use Elohim, some use Elohim, but most of them use Yeshua, Adonai, still use Lord and God, and what else did they use? Well, those are your major ones.
Hashem.
Hashem, yeah, but these guys, how would you say, they have big congregations. What the heck? How come they're not seeing this? Because, this is like crazy. I don't, like when anybody worships in like a lot, Joshua Aaron uses Adonai a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, come on,
They're
dude.
the traps.
Yeah,
They're
I think Joshua Aaron, in my opinion, is not even a legitimate Torah believer. I just got an email that I'm still subscribed to him somehow. I don't know how. I need to unsubscribe from his email, but I just got an email where he's talking about Happy New Year and all that. So you're supposed to be a Torah believer and you're acknowledging Janus here. That to me puts a red flag up there. I know Messianic Jews that would never acknowledge right now being the New Year. So I really have to start looking at stuff. How Yehusha says, you'll know them by their fruits. And if they're trying to blend in with the Christian world, they're trying to not offend Christians, and they're afraid to tell them that it's not really the New Year, and they're actually trying to promote that it's the New Year right now. That's a little weird to me. That's a little red flag personally. That's I've seen certain things with Joshua Aaron that makes me wonder if he's even genuine, because he flirts with all the contemporary Christian artists. It's almost like he's trying to make the gate wide.
I don't think that he realizes, though. I think like in his heart, he believes he's genuine, but like with anyone, I think that it's, as people come into this walk, they don't want to recognize, and it's not necessarily that they don't want to recognize, but they don't recognize because Yahuwah has not allowed them to see it, but they don't recognize that who they were worshiping is not who Yahusha is. So they're still holding on to Christianity, or they're still holding on to Judaism, whatever side that it is they're coming out of. They don't realize that it's neither, if that makes any sense. So they're still holding on to these false ones. I don't think that they're intentionally trying to deceive people, but I think that they in and of themselves are deceived.
Exactly. That's why, you know what, Doug, would be really good if you can make a flyer or something and just have them go research themselves. Yeah. Especially because I like Bill Cloud. I really like him for my babies, my newcomers, and it would be nice for him because he reads a lot of Torah. Maybe he hasn't gone this deep. You know what I mean? He reads a lot. He does a lot of research because he does speak and break down Hebrew words. But so do we. And I've never heard this before. You know what I mean? I've heard it with you, but not with any other teachers that are out there, and like, come on, you guys, dig a little deeper, because what we said last night, we had a Rev Shabbat here. And what we said last night is that what we're seeing is that Yahuwah is pouring out on the young men like you, Joshua, and brother here, and because they're coming in like understanding in full force, like what we've been walking 13 years, we're just getting a grip of it, you know what I mean? But you guys, there's something that you was doing with the men, and the youth of the men, because he's pouring in. I mean, if you're missing this boat and you're a young man, all you got to do is pour into your study time. And Abba will open your mind like he has Doug, and he has Joshua. He has, I mean, there's quite a few other brothers, not just you guys, Darnell too. But, again, there's another issue there. But I'm saying that you guys have what we've gained in 12 to 13 years, you guys gained in a week. You know what I mean? And I believe it's because Yahuwah is rising up a new tribe that is going out there to tell the truth, to teach the word, the way unfiltered, undoctrinated. Yeah, I mean, how do you call that? Where it's been distorted and
unadulterated. I think you're trying to say.
Thank you so much, honey.
Yeah,
that didn't want to come out, but you're right. That's the word I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm really blessed to be in the presence of you young men. It's great. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how they talk about you guys. I don't. I love you guys very much. I can care less what they say. You guys are hard or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Don't get on.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother talk for a whole nother day. We're still live, by the way. I don't want this going too long here. But we're still kind of on the record here, so my bad for not letting Brother Solomon know beforehand. But hopefully all you guys that listened in and joined in today, hopefully you got something out of this, especially towards the end on what me and Brother Solomon were trying to push forth and bring forth was that it's important to honor the Father's name. I hope you get the gist of that. If anything else that we just said. I hopefully you get the gist of that honoring his name and not letting it become nothing is not just, rebelling, or how other people in this movement want to say that profaning his name is only disobeying him. That's not true. You can bring his name to nothing just by literally not using his name. I mean, if you look up the word in the Hebrew, literally says to bring it to nothing. It literally it says that in the Hebrew of Exodus 20. So those that want to rationalize using a title like El or Elohim as his name, that it says it right in Exodus 20, the 10 sayings, like Brother Solomon was bringing up earlier. Says it right there as one of the 10 sayings. Don't bring his name to nothing. Don't make it generic. Don't make it useless. By calling him Adonai, you are making it useless. By calling him, especially as a name, by calling him by name Elohim instead of his own name, you're making it useless and rendering it as nothing. This is one of the top 10, guys. So this is important. It is. And I know a lot of teachers out there, you know who you are, you know who I'm speaking to right now. They want to rationalize and say, oh, well, it's easier to witness. Listen, at the end of the day, all of us have a account we're going to have to come to on Judgment Day. And I doubt the Father is going to be judging us saying that, oh, well, you made the road a little too narrow. So those that want to say, well, I do this for witnessing, I do this for that, for the Christians. Well, where did Yahuwah say in his word that we have to make it super easy for people to accept the Besorah? Just saying. Where does it say that? Where does it say we have to make the road so wide that anyone can go on it? I mean, so, I know it sounds harsh the way I'm saying it right now, but there's a reason I'm speaking like that to the leaders out there. Because they have a responsibility. As shepherds, you have a responsibility. And you need to teach people the right stuff. Whether you like it or not, you need to be teaching his name. And you need to stop calling him Lord and God. I mean, there's no nice way I can say this. Like, he doesn't want to be called Lord. He doesn't want to be called God. He doesn't want to be called Hashem. He doesn't want his name devalued just for the sake of you getting false converts. Okay? Yeah, Yahushua himself rebuked the Pharisees for doing such things. He said,
there's a verse, Doug, that comes to mind in Revelation 3, verse 8,
Mm-hmm.
it says, I know your works. See, I have put before you an open door, and no one is able to shut it. That you have little power, yet have guarded my word and have not denied my name.
Hallelujah. Yep. Yep. So especially if you want to be greatest in the kingdom, that what Shushan just read, you have to do. I mean, at the minimum, that's what's going to happen to those that keep teaching this Lord and God stuff. At the minimum, they're not going to be the greatest. Yahushua himself says, "Those that teach all the Torah and tell others to do so will be greatest." In Matthew 5, he says, "Those that only want to partially teach the Torah, they become least." I mean, that's not my words. So it's up to you guys today what you want to do. I can't force you to do it. It's your choice, your own free will that you has brute you with. At the end of the day, you have the choice. So, but I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead, Brother Yahusha, before we go. I forgot you.
Oh, no, that was an old hand, but I just wanted to I'll just go ahead and hey, Brother Ronnie, definitely reach out to me or reach out to Doug.
It's Sister Ronnie, brother.
Sister. Oh, my bad.
Sister Ronnie, I'm sorry. There's a couple different things, it's not just one specific translation. Like mostly I read the Greek Septuagint for my Old Testament and my Aramaic, an Aramaic Peshitta for my New Testament, which you can get all on, depending on whether you're using an iPhone or depending on whether you're using an Android. You can get all of that on your phone. It would be different depending on what you're using, but yeah, reach out to one of us, or rather, reach out to a sister and then have that sister reach out to one of us, or
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say something real quickly, real fast as well. In addition to what Joshua just said, also me myself personally, just two things really quickly. You can also check out the scripture transliteration / translation by this guy named Lou White. It's called the BYNV, and he correctly transliterates and translates the Tanakh directly from the original Hebrew without the distorted context or whatever of the Masoretic text dealing with the Nakud diacritical marks or whatever, etc. And also what Joshua had recommended also. And two, just real fast, not to try and promote my own channel or whatever on Doug's channel or anything like that, but we all are definitely in this for one thing and one thing only, and that's to get Yahuwah's truth out there, like completely, to make sure that people have a clear understanding, make sure we're speaking it all in tender-hearted love and firm love as well. Because I know Doug said a couple times that he don't mean to sound harsh. It's not that Doug is trying to sound harsh, or it's not that he doesn't mean it. It's just that he's coming out with the firm love, and that's what Yahuwah is doing in these times. He's hitting us with the firm love, because he's recognizing how we've been taking his kindness for weakness, and that's what all of us as human beings have been doing throughout history. And I'm pretty sure all of you have already heard that saying before, taking somebody's kindness for weakness, and that's what we've been doing. Yahuwah has been very patient with us, but he wants us to wake up now. He's giving us that little wake up slap, or that little wake up turn on the light in the morning time, like the parents do to their children. Like, hey, come on, rise and shine, time, wake up for school. but yeah, you can also reach out to me as well on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called Lion of Yehuda, and I have a video on there that's specifically on Yahuwah's name. If anyone wants to watch that, I also have a link in the description to a Google Doc article that I had made and wrote and typed, just by being led by Yahuwah and taking my time with it and going through all the sources and everything. But that was all I had to say.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Definitely. Yeah, I appreciate that. So next time, I think I'll find an electronic version of the one you're reading from, just so the viewers and listeners can follow along. I do remember seeing an electronic version of that translation you just mentioned. So there should be a free PDF.
Yeah, the BYNV.
Yeah, the Basora, was it the Basora translation, right? Or
Yeah,
is
it's called the Basora of Yahusha Nazarene version.
Okay, I think the regular version is a free PDF I should be able to find.
Oh yeah, most certainly it is. It is. But they will have to like go to probably like tourzone.net or something like that to probably find it.
All right, cool. All right, well, Shabbat Shalom to all of our brothers and sisters out there. Hope you enjoyed this and got something out of it. Hopefully it was edifying for all of our brothers and sisters watching on YouTube, and we'll see this later on other platforms. And have a great rest of your Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom.